a change, it is a really good morning. Look at this, just at the head of the estuary. Absolutely glorious start to the day. I don't know if you can see it in the distance, but there's a little bit of radiation fog hanging in the valley there. That'll soon clear, and it is radiation fog, so it'll be gin clear out to sea. It's been a long time coming, mid-September to get a good day, but everything is coincided today. The weather's good, the wind is good, the tides are decent. So we'll get out there and see what we can find. So the plan for today is to see if I can catch some bigger fish. Sorry about the sun, it's really bright. Well, in fact, I'm not sorry about the sun. It is a really nice change. So yeah, the plan today is to catch some bigger fish. I've been waiting all year really for conditions to be good. To be fair, the last couple of weeks have been decent, but for one reason or another I haven't been able to get out. I did get out about, when was it, 2 weeks ago, but two things happened. I had camera issues, so when I came back and looked at the footage, the quality was shocking. I'd fiddled about and done something with it. Luckily it coincided with a shocking day on the water. The conditions were not great. It was east wind, which is never brilliant. Cormorant on a pole. Yeah, it was east wind, which is never brilliant, but I went out to a couple of wrecks, went out to a reef, loads and loads of pouting, one decent pollock, about 5 pounds, and that was it. So hopefully my bad camera day coincided with the bad fishing day, and everything else will be all right today. So yeah, the plan for today is to try and catch some bigger fish. And by bigger fish, I'm talking, for me, above 5 pounds. It's been poor for bigger fish this year. I didn't do great last year, to be honest. So yeah, today that's the aim. We'll try and catch some bigger fish. So sorry, I'm just looking at a boat smoking away there. That's all right. It's just because it's early morning. Yeah, so the species, cod, ling, bass, pollock. If I catch one of those above 5 pounds, I'll be pleased. 2 of those, I'll be thrilled, and any better than that is an absolute bonus. Why do I want to catch bigger fish? Well, I'm a fisherman. I think it's sort of the hunter-gatherer that's in all of us that we want to do that. But also, as you know, I like to catch stuff for the pot, and particularly cod and the like. Once they get around the 7 pound mark, takeable fish are only 30 centimetres, and you will get a fillet off that, and they're absolutely fine. But once they get up to about 7 pounds, the flakes are bigger, the fish is more mature, and so much more flavour. So that's the plan. We will see what we can achieve. I'll head down the river, tackle up on the way. I think I'll just drift down. I'm in an outgoing tide, so rather than tackle up on the mooring, which I normally do because I'm normally heading into the tide, the tide is outflowing, so I'll just cut the engine and drift down the river while I'm tackling up, and I'll bring you back out to sea. See you there. Just passing a beam Salcombe on our way down. That little bit of fog has lifted already in the 15 minutes or so it's taken us to get down here. So yeah, promises to be an absolutely stunner of a day. So I've rigged up on the way down. I have my 3 rods rigged up. Excuse me. One has a lure on it, a spinning rod's got a lure on it, just in case I see anything on the surface. I've got some mackerel feathers. On the quest for the to find some big fish, I'm going to head out to a wreck first and fish that slack water. But if I see any signs of bird activity, maybe bass on the surface as there were a month or so ago, it might be mackerel. So that's what I've got those 2 rods ready for. It'd be lovely to catch some mackerel. You know, they've been very few and far between in my patch this year, but also it'd be nice to have some fresh bait. I've got frozen bait, yeah, head out to a wreck. We might stop on the way, otherwise get out there and use the frozen bait over the slack water, then maybe swap to lures, maybe go to a reef. That's the approximate plan on this absolutely glorious day. There's Salcombe behind me, starting to quieten down after the main holiday season has gone, and that's where we're heading. See you there. I'll try and show you, hope the wind's not too much on the camera here. I'll try and show you as I get a bit closer, but I doubt you'll pick it up on the camera. I've just about got to the wreck that I want to fish, and it's covered with tuna. It's not a massive like compact shoal like you see sometimes, a big bus stop as they call it, but all around probably, I don't know, 200 or 300 yards around. I have seen them jumping clear of the water, but yeah, I haven't caught it on camera. So it's you probably won't be able to see. There's still a couple of 100 yards away. Don't know if you can see the splash in there. That's tuna. So yeah, a waste of time trying to fish here. Let's get a bit closer if we can. There was one fairly close there. I don't know if I caught it on camera or not. Yeah, and some still a couple of 100 yards away up there. They're lovely to see, and obviously it does mean that there are fish here, but what they're not eating will be hiding. Yeah. It's a complete waste of time here, so I'll move on to a different wreck and see if we can find one that the tuna haven't got to first. Right, we've arrived at the second wreck. Masses of tuna and dolphin on that first one. I had to come 2 miles away from it to get away from them. Right. So what we've got here is, this is my ugly stick, 12 to 20 with a Penn Fathom 2-lever drag, 2-speed lever drag rather, 40 pounds braid. This is Barclay something or other, Berkeley, however you want to pronounce it. There are cheaper ones around, but I found that this is the thinnest braid for the breaking strain, so thinner braid, less drag. On the other end of that we've got a sliding boom onto a Cox and Roll, I think this is a conger trace with an 8-0 on the end. Gone for a nice big mackerel flapper, hoping that that's going to keep the pouting away. Now wreck fishing, I don't do it an awful lot, but we need to get some scent down there to get the fish feeding. If you're on a charter boat, you've got an advantage because you've got however many number of rods worth of bait going down each time to get the scent going. You can also anchor and just keep feeding the same spot, or what I'm going to do is get some bait down there. So I don't like to waste anything, so I've got a freezer in a shed, small freezer in a shed, so I'm allowed to put smelly things in there. So I've got a bag of that one's got old bait in it. It could be so that's bait that's been frozen, come out, defrosted and what have you, and it's gone soft. No use for bait really, but good for scent. It could be chopped up bits of pout, stuff like that. You know, if they come up blown. Like I said, I don't like to waste anything, so we'll get that down first. That bag's got just a sharp stone inside, so break that on the bottom. The bag comes back up, nothing unnatural is left on the seabed, and hopefully we've got scent just where we want it. We've got a little bit of drift with the wind, just about on slack water. There's a little bit of southwesterly coming up, but a glorious day out here. So I'll reposition first, get that bait bag down just before where I want to fish. Hopefully that'll drift with what little tide we have got onto exactly where we do want to fish, and that'll encourage a bit of a feeding frenzy. That's the hope. I'll reposition and we'll see. Right. This is where I want the scent bag to go. Got a couple of sharp stones in it, but it's a big bag of stuff, so it's going to take a little while to get down to the bottom. Hopefully you can see this. That's my bait bag going down, and this is just the edge of the wreck starting to show here. So hopefully if that line continues, then it's going to end up just at the start of the... That's on the bottom. That's the bag gone. There's nothing left in it. Well, no signs of any dolphin or tuna here at this wreck. It does sort of dull your confidence a little bit when there's a big volume of apex predators that are all better at fishing than you. There we are, that's what we've got left. Just an empty bag, which will go in the bin. Only fish plus one rock on the seabed, so that's fine. Let's reposition and see if we can get in amongst that scent trail that I've just put down. Conditions are absolutely glorious out here. Just that little bit of southwesterly that was forecast. Right on slack water, half a knot of drift just with the wind. Big bait going down to avoid the pout. See if we can drop it on the nose of a ling. I have got some other baits, but while the tide's slack, just dropping right into the wreck, you would hope for ling. As the tide picks up, maybe cod, then I might move on to a reef as the ebb tide picks up and see if there are any bass about. I'll start off with bait because it's nicely down there. I'll start off with bait, hoping that the sort of scavengers are around on the slack tide, and as the ambush predators get active, as the tide picks up, it might switch to lures. As always, we'll see how it goes. Just on the edge of the wreck now, so just feeling my way through it. It's always the dream, first drop. We'll see. We've got some scent down there, so you never know. Hopefully they'll prefer my fresher frozen mackerel to the older smelly bait that I've put down there. And a little nibble, but it's a little bit too tentative for ling. I think that's pout having a chew at it. I said it was pout nibbling. You saw what the flapper looked like when it went down, and that's what it looks like coming back up. Munched. Just gone for a fillet of mackerel this time. The dream is the first drift, but the reality is second or third. On the first drift I didn't get any nibbles, and the start of the wreck, it was all at the far end of it. So we'll see how this one goes, and if it's similar then we'll concentrate on the other end of the wreck. If the pout are there, the bigger fish are there, hopefully. That's just nicely knocking on the wreck. You can feel its wreck on the lead. Barclay Whiplash, that's the name of the braid. There's a touch there. Again, too tentative for ling. The ling will come out, grab the bait and try and get back in the wreck. Whereas pout, if you imagine that a terrier at the other end of a rope or something like that shaking its head and pulling, that's a pout bite. Well, nearly at the edge of the wreck again. I think what I'll do is have a drift across with some baited feathers and see if we can't get some fresh bait. Right, there are obviously lots of pout down there, so see if we can't give them something more their size. String of mackerel feathers just baited with a little bit of squid. Pop those down and hopefully catch a couple of live bait for them. The wreck's obviously healthy because that flapper came up all chewed to death. The fillet was completely gone. I just left it down there at the end of the wreck to see if a pout would take it. Ideally I'd like something sort of 6 to 8 inches long, that sort of size. Baited mackerel feathers are better than a whole mackerel on an 8-0 for that sort of thing. There we are, just at the edge of the wreck. Straight into something. And that is even better. Scad or a horse mackerel. I'll show you that in a minute. I just wouldn't mind another couple of another drop or two on this drift before we lose the wreck again. What is this? That's a bit too big for bait, but we've got these sections. Sun's out and there's a bend on the rod. Happy days. That one is actually a good size for a wreck bait. Just leave that there a second. Ratchet and loose drag. So This feels more like a mackerel or a scad. Hey, a mackerel. There have been so few and far between this year. I don't want to risk sounding like a grumpy old man saying things are not like they used to be, but the seasons have definitely got a change to them. I was watching one of John Locker's videos about commercial conger fishing, and the chap out of Dartmouth then, Aaron, I think the skipper's name was, he was saying that where they used to start congering in April, it's now August, September time. And the mackerel, you could put it down to many different factors. This year I'm about 10 trips light on what I did last year. That was purely down to the weather. So you can never compare year for year. You know, it has to get seasonal really. It has to be much more of a longer period than that. But whether it's the tuna that are abundant, a lot more dolphins that are abundant, commercial trawling, you don't know, but it's several years since in this area we've gone out and reliably caught mackerel. I've probably had less than 20 this year, and we're mid-September, so catching one is really nice. And while I've got other bait, that one is currently destined for the frying pan. Right, again, I'll leave that off the bottom on a light ratchet. So we've got a nice eating size mackerel that you saw, a scad, horse mackerel, and that's a perfect size for a live bait. I have heard of people absolutely full of bones. And then we've got a pout, which is far too big to put on whole, but it'll be useful in chunks or it'll go back in the freezer. I would return them, but it's dead. It's flapping around, but it won't survive, it's blown. And then we've got another pout, which is a perfect size dead bait. I'll get some water in there for the ones I'm keeping alive, put the others in a different bucket, and we'll go around and I'll have one more drop with feathers, see if we can just increase that bait a little bit. Right, the pout have been dispatched and they're in a bucket in the shade. The scad and the mackerel, I've put some water in a big bucket of water, keep those alive. I've rebaited the feathers because every bit of squid was absolutely demolished on those feathers, and we're at the start of the wreck again, just going down to the bottom. The ebb tide's just starting to creep in a little bit, in which case we'll have wind against tide for a while. Oh, I didn't nibble on the way down, but it's there as soon as I hit the bottom. Ah, just lost it. Just lost it, literally 3 turns from the surface. I flatten the barbs a little bit just so it's easier and hooking what have you. You lose a few fish, but there we are, doesn't matter. I'm not actually bothered about flattening the barbs here because I'm going to keep everything I catch. These are just mackerel feathers I've had before, and fishing closer inshore, if you hook something that you don't want to keep, it's just there's less chance of damage. So that's why I've got flattened barbs on these. There's definitely lots of life on the wreck, so Oh, and that is another. That's a really nice mackerel. And it didn't eat the squid, so down again. I had another drift over that wreck. Picked up another couple of pout and a couple of tiny little porcod. So they'll go in the bait bucket. The state of the tide is feeling particularly ling-like. So got one of those, one of the smaller pout. Just roughly taking the fillets off, which I can use for bait. So this is just the head and guts, nice and smelly. The tide's just swinging, so we're coming into the ebb tide. The ebb tide's going down that way, the wind is blowing us that way, so it's a little bit of wind against tide, but it's holding us nicely on the wreck. This wreck sits pretty much east-west, so on the flood tide we can run along the length of the wreck, on the ebb tide we can run along the length of the wreck. While the wind's blowing us off a little bit and the tide's just swinging, we're going to go directly across the width of the wreck, so a shorter drift, and you have to sort of pick your point on the wreck rather than being able to fish the whole wreck. As the tide builds, we'll be able to fish the whole wreck on the ebb, but currently we'll fish across it and see if this head and guts can pull anything out. Hopefully a ling. Like I said, the wreck is very healthy, pout, porcod, mackerel and scad so far. So there's plenty of bait fish on it for the bigger predators to go at. It's just whether they fancy a fresh, smelly head and guts of a pout. So the prep for this one, obviously you've seen the pout. What I've got in the boat then, the scad is live in the bucket still. I've just changed the water, that's absolutely fine. I'm bleeding out the mackerel. I've got enough of the bait. I'm not using, while they are really good bait, I've eaten too few this year to use them for bait. So hopefully put the feathers down a bit later and catch a couple more to go with those, but it's a lovely starter as it is. The pout and the porcod are in a bucket in the shade, and also the fillets that I've taken off those. There's no point in having fresh bait and leaving it drying out in the sun, which is quite warm at the moment. So they're in a shade in the bucket. I have got ice, but I'll keep that for the fish I'm going to eat. And there we are. So nicely coming up to the middle of the wreck widthways. The bait's fishing well on the bottom. Just need to entice something. Nice fishing so far, and just, oh, dolphin. There it is, do you see it? Lovely clear water today. They are amazing to see. Is it a good sign or a bad sign? Well, it's a good sign that the sea's healthy. When I had the feathers on, everything is on the bottom, and that's why it's just running scared. Yeah, normally if you're fishing with feathers you can be 10, 15, 20 turns off the bottom and you'll catch fish, but even with the feathers they had to be tight onto the bottom. So yeah, if you can see one dolphin there'll be more around. Just thought I'd drop these down as we came off the wreck, and 3 lovely mackerel. Really nice eating size. Nothing on that last drift apart from 3 bonus mackerel at the end. So yeah, the pout head didn't do it on the big hook, so I've trimmed it down to a 5/0 and a paw cod, and we'll see if that'll do any good. It's a little bit awkward on the drift now as the tide's swinging until we get into the full ebb, and we'll see how it settles down. So the angle's different each drift, but I think this one will work out okay. The last one worked out okay, just didn't catch anything. Well, can't say I didn't catch anything. 3 mackerel came up at the end of it, so might try the same again. The fishing's been very similar this year, mainly because of the weather. We haven't had calm days like this. I mean, it's glorious. Why couldn't the whole summer have been like this? Sorry about the sun. I'll sort that out a little bit. Yeah, mainly due to the weather. We've just not had calm days like this, so when it's a little bit lumpy, you can come out to the wrecks, you can come out to the reefs, try and catch the same thing, which hasn't been particularly successful this year, I have to say. But when it's not flat, you know, you can't go place fishing. I wouldn't anchor and go ray fishing. I wouldn't go close into the rocks and try and plug for a bass, or just a fun day against the rocks with mixed bait, seeing what you can do. Missed it. Something just definitely coming up after it then. See, I've still got some bait left. Yeah, so it's been a lot of similar fishing this year, but hopefully we'll have a change in the weather, and we'll have a bit more like this, and the season's good. Today's tides are really good. Just some fish to go with it, be nice. Sorry about the funny camera angle. I'm going to show you this as best I can without losing my GoPro over the side. So the pout baits are not doing it, so I'm going to try a more cod type bait. So I've got a Cox and Roll Sea Beast 5/0 and a 7/0. Veterans Bait Supplies pre-prepared stuff. This is a bluey and squid, so that's going to go in about there, further down, out about there. The 5/0 then just gets wrapped around a few times, just for presentation, that one really, but we may as well make sure the hook points are proud. And then I've got some dried and salted black lug wraps. That'll do. A bit of bait elastic. This is the fiddly messy bit. That's the end gun. I've no idea what you can see, by the way, so I hope it's about right. Making sure that hook point stays proud. And then when it comes to this other end, just wrap them around a little bit, but try not to have any ends flapping about, because that's going to make it spin and just potentially tangle you up. A little bit more, a couple times and snap it off, and there we are. Hook point is proud there. and that one's really proud. That's your hooking one. That should hopefully sit nicely and bring us a cod. We'll try. That one's on its way down. Of course, if I do hook into anything, I'm going to believe it's a cod now. Attracted the attention of something straight away, but I think that something was pout. You can see the rod tip rattling away. Yeah, I've hooked it. Thought I'd managed to just pull it clear. Oh no, may have let go. Yeah, I think it's let go. What state my nicely presented bait is in after Pout's had a rattle at it there, who knows? I think I've hooked a Pout. Yeah, look at that. They mess it up so much. That's the bottom hook there, and it's hooked into the top hook that was just there for bait presentation. I might go back. I'm going to have to re-rig this anyway because it's knotted it right now. Right, switch to lures and give that a go. Well, it's been a lovely day's fishing so far in glorious conditions, but clearly haven't had to worry the landing net to bring in any of the big four, which I was after. So try with lures, try one of, can you see that one? One of Plymouth's Lazy Lures Arctic Assassins, and I've up to a 10 ounce. What's that, probably on about 6 foot of 25-pound fluorocarbon. So yeah, the bait's just bringing up pout. I don't really want any more. That last one went back alive, surprisingly, from 60 odd metres of water. But now there's a bit of movement in the water as well. So hopefully not big, but something's picked up the lure. And the lures are also bringing up pout. That one's eyes look reasonable as well though. Get the hook out. Yeah, so we're still over the wreck because we're actually only drifting at 0.4 of a knot, but that's because the wind's holding us back. So physically we're moving at 0.4 of a knot over the water, but there's more tide than that down below, which is hopefully going to encourage other things to get on the feed other than pout. It's another fish. It's not a big one again. Not sure how big they get, but that is without a doubt the biggest scad I've ever caught. Huge fish. I'm not brave enough to use anything that size. Give this lure another go. It's getting even warmer. We're down from 3 layers to 1, and not any old 1 layer, the lucky fishing shirt. It's another small fish. See it spinning, which only means one thing. There must be literally thousands of these things down there. I don't know why they're coming up so well, but yeah, let's go for a change of lure. I'll put something bigger on and see if that changes. I don't think much puts a pout off, but this is the biggest lure I've got in my box. A white sidewinder. I'm supposed to have reception out here. I don't know why, but I much favour the smaller, well, I do know why. I favour the smaller lures because I've caught more fish on them. But the sidewinder joeys that I use a lot, I rarely catch anything on the 5-inch ones, but on the 4-inch ones, you know, they seem to do really well. So this is bigger than that, so it's 7 or 8 inches, something like that. So we'll see if it does anything. I'm trying to deter the pout, really. If you can deter a pout. But in the process, whether that deters everything, we shall see. Change of lure. I'll give this this wreck one more drift, I think. See what it produces. Give it one final chance to behave itself and get in order. Smaller lure, I think we're straight into smaller fish again. Just a big old lump of a pout. It's a shame with these wrecks because you just know there are fish there. It's just how many pout do you fish through to try and lure one out. There's got to be predators there because the fish is alive with smaller fish. It's drifting too fast now to hold a bait into the wreck, so that's out of the question. That one's taking line, that feels better. Clicker on so you can hear it. It does it again. No, that's annoying. that's going for the bottom, so it feels like a reasonable pollock to me. Is it one of the four? It's taking line again. Crikey. Nearly knocked me GoPro out. Right, let's straighten up. This is a stonker of a pollock. I said £5 plus. I'll weigh that one and get back to you, but that is easily 5. And we're one of our £5 plus down. I'll come back to you in a tick. The battery's nearly flat as well, so I'll just change that. So that one is coming in at, well, it's difficult on the boat, but I don't know if you can see that. It's bouncing around, but it's averaging about 7.3, so I'm calling it 7. And there it is. Huge great mouth on them, rasping teeth, and a big slab of meat. He's coming home. 1 out of 4 done.